I love meat.
I had some honey butter chicken biscuits for dinner.
Honey butter chicken biscuits. Like, is it a
Yeah.
biscuit with chicken mixed into the biscuit mix?
No, it's just like a chicken strip inside a biscuit with some honey butter.
Oh, so it's a sandwich.
Yeah, it's a biscuit sandwich.
Oh, I got you. Have you guys had those? Who is it? What place is it that serves those? With you can get honey with it. Is it Popeyes?
Popeyes? Yeah.
Maybe it's Popeyes.
You get the honey packets from Popeyes and put it on your biscuit and stuff.
Yeah, and you can put your
I used to
chicken
eat
on
honey
there.
packets with my chicken nuggets at McDonald's when I was a kid.
I feel like you probably just drank honey packets solo.
I probably did. I remember going to the bowling alley and going up to the concession
Done it.
stand and just grabbing handfuls of sugar packets and just eating the whole thing, paper and all.
Like
I'm
sugar.
not gonna lie, I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of sugar.
I had a Philly
I
cheesesteak
am.
tonight.
That's why my
Extra
teeth look the way they do.
You had a Philly cheesesteak.
Mm-hmm.
Like ordered out, or did you make it?
Ordered out.
Oh, no. All right. Yeah, I had you guys ever been and seen those they're brat patties? Like it's like a brat, right? But it's patty shaped.
No, but I want to now.
Mm-hmm.
They're Johnsonville, like Johnsonville makes brats, right? Not not a sponsored stream, okay? Just saying. They make these brat patties. Yeah, they make these brat patties and you just throw them on the grill. They're amazing. It's like a brat fucking burger. Pretty damn good.
I'm gonna have to try that now.
I just threw a slice of like Colby Jack in between two of the patties and slapped some mustard on that shit. It's
That
good as
sounds
fuck,
good.
dude. I mean, I don't eat a bun or anything, so I just kind of ate it like a steak. Does that make sense? I don't know, I cut it up.
What were they called? When they had the chicken as the bun, there was like two chicken patties as a bun. What was it? KFC? What were they called?
I don't know.
Oh man.
KFC.
But anyway, that's basically what you had. Yeah,
I don't
KFC had
put
like a chicken sandwich, but it was two chicken patties as the bun and like cheese and bacon in between it.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, I put a slice of cheese between them. Yeah, mustard on top. I just ate it with a fork. Cause I'm weird.
Smother it in some chili and cheese.
Ooh, that would be good too. Some shredded cheese, some diced onions.
Some caramelized diced onions.
I mean, that would be good too. Fuck. That would be good too.
Yeah, if onions is good on it, caramelized onions are gonna be even better.
Yeah. So what's good, man? What's been going on this week? Anything wild? The submarine thing.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's crazy.
Did you guys watch all that? Like go down?
I knew that was the case. Like what actually happened was the case the minute they said it was missing. Like come on now. They're like, oh, we're looking for it. You're not finding it. It's gone.
Yeah, and then later when everything was done, they're like, oh, yep, they're clearly out of air. We found debris. And then something posts up and says, yeah, the Navy heard heard it on acoustics fucking 5 days ago. So then what they've done is
made a huge sound, a huge underwater sound.
Well, what they've done now is they've wrapped that into some sort of misdirection. And why was this information held? Why, all these other things going on with the laptop, the Hunter laptop and all that. How do you not account for the air or pressure with all of our technology? I will say this. I'm pretty sure that submersible was constructed out of a lot of carbon fiber, which if anybody knows how carbon fiber works, it doesn't last forever. It's a strong material, sure, but if there's any kind of like issue with it or defect in it, any kind, after a time, it can get weak quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mythbusters showed in, like with a train car, they did like explode the decompression
Pressure, yeah,
on that, and they showed that like just a dent in it is where it's gonna fail. Just a small little dent will cause it to fail because it's the way it's designed. It's meant to hold, take all that pressure. But if there's a dent, now that dent's taking all that pressure, and it's not made to reflect it off.
Yeah, you've given it a weak spot. That's what you've done. But the train car is steel, is it not?
Yeah, it's steel.
But it's the same. Well, I would say that the thing with carbon fiber is, let's say somebody bumped it, or it got hit with something, or anything. That spot would be
they bumped it while they were down there or something. Yeah,
potentially. Well, from
while
what
they were launching it,
from what I gathered was that it didn't go down very far. It was like 30 minutes into the trip, and by the time the thing was catastrophic.
Yeah, and they said it was going to take like 8 hours to reach the bottom, something like that.
Could you
30 minutes in, you're not very far.
Dude, could you imagine sitting in that little tiny thing for 8 hours going like at all?
Mm-mm.
I mean, knowing that you're 2 miles under the ocean surface.
It's like 12,500 feet to the Titanic.
Yeah. What is that?
Like
2 miles.
I have the same issue with people jumping out of perfectly good planes. Like I'm perfectly fine on sea level. I don't need to go way down there. I don't need to jump from a perfectly good airplane. I have the same outlook on both of them.
I don't want to go that deep, but I mean, I was a scuba diver. I'm a certified scuba diver, and I enjoy it, diving. But
yeah,
I'm not going more than 100 feet.
That's what
these dudes went 12,000. That's 12,000.
Well, they didn't. They eventually made it to 12,000.
Well,
they're probably lucky if they made.
You're cutting out.
Yeah.
You need to bring your mic closer.
But yeah, it's bad.
The crazy thing is, what I heard was that this craft specifically has done that trip like 20 times. Like, could you imagine the stress, cracks, and fractures that may have been in that carbon fiber?
Yeah.
Going down to that pressure and then back up that many times?
So they actually did test it.
Well, that craft has been down there numerous times. I think they said it was up to 20 times. It made like 20 trips.
The host of Destination Unknown and another one, Josh Gates, he said that he was in that exact same submarine, and they gave him like a little test run, and so many things went wrong in that little test run that he was like, no, I don't want to go. Don't take me to the Titanic in this.
Yeah,
he said they lost communication, they lost navigation, and like all kinds of shit was going on just in a little test run.
I mean, test runs are for test runs. You figure out where the issues are, you solve them, and it's just like any other kind of aircraft the same way. They do functional check flights. That'll have a functional dive, before they go too far.
But we also, not controlling a submersible with a $50 controller off of Amazon was shit either. That was just insane. I couldn't understand that. Like, yeah, we control it with this little thing.
Well, it's like, if I'm not mistaken, it may be false information, but doesn't the Army use Xbox controllers for drones?
Well, they'd use. So EOD will use, I believe it's an Xbox controller for their robot.
Puppies made an appearance.
The dogs are saying hello to something outside. I bet the deer is back.
The girlfriend's boyfriend is here. It's their warning.
What's your intentions?
My warning usually sounds a little different than that.
How's that? Can you hear him still?
No, you're good though.
I just didn't want it to cloud up the audio, but so what was I saying? Oh, the controller was one of those like generic PlayStation controllers.
Yeah, it's a Logitech.
Yeah, it was
controller.
it was a PlayStation version.
Our EOD guys had a box, like it was like an actual box like this with the controls and joystick and stuff built in,
Yeah,
like an actual.
I've seen that before too, and I've also seen them control things with like a game controller. So, I mean, I don't know why game controllers, like, they're pretty complex. Like, this is an elite Xbox controller, has paddles and
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different functions, and you can control it to do anything.
There's also, a difference in like these style controllers.
Yeah.
Control they used.
And it's not only that, like they were in a middle of the road controller too. They didn't get like a PlayStation controller or a Scuff or a higher end controller. They're in like middle road.
Well, if it was Scuff, they only would have made it 1,000.
I wonder.
Paddle would have broke at 10.
Yeah, it would have fell apart. I don't know what to do.
But the other thing too is I know that they use that mostly for their steering, right?
Yeah,
steering.
It was for steering.
I don't know how much controlling of ballast or transfer weight or anything like that was to give it its submersible controls, surfacing and submersibles. It wasn't a Switch controller, yeah. So I don't know how much of that
spun in circles if it was a Switch controller.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sure that like there'll be something coming out about it. I would think. I've seen some short clips of them operating where there was one where they were doing a dive. They were going to the Titanic and they lost control of the craft, and they had to like turn the control, like rotate the controller like upside down to control it properly, because they lost I want to say it was fore and aft, so forward backward. They lost fore and aft control, so they rotated it because the controls were routed a different way. So the message they got down there was, hey, rotate your controller, use this stick now for forward and aft controls rather than like port and starboard controls.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
yeah, as soon
y'all
as
down there when
I lost it.
Yeah. Y'all down there in the jalopy, bro.
Yeah, you bought this from
Wish
down the street,
something. It's like, dude.
But I knew it was over as soon as they said, because one, it had like 5 redundancy systems to,
we're breaking up again.
I don't know, but it had like 5. I don't know why it's breaking up.
I don't know. 5 redundancy systems.
Yeah, like it had like 4 or 5 redundant. I don't know why it. Yes, it's always nice to have that.
You're getting cut off a lot, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know why.
Maybe change your
It's annoying. That's what it is.
noise gate in Discord.
Yeah, you could do that. I would think that they would come back with some sort of investigation on that, because lives were lost. There's got to be an investigation into it. I get that they signed, waivers. Perhaps it was a waiver. I don't want to be technical on whatever term they used, but I'm sure they signed some paperwork before they went in that more than likely said, you could die. You could die. You could die numerous times for legal reasons. But it blows my mind that, that some of the things that we've heard the owner of that company say, and people trust him to take them down 2 miles to go see this thing in some jalopy of a fucking submarine.
A jalopy.
You know?
It was almost like he built it in his backyard.
That's broken all the time for one reason or another. Like, dude, eventually it's going to fucking fail. And here we are. You know, there's people that are dead now because of it.
And one
his stepson trying to catch clout from it, from Blink-182. The next day, he was at a Blink-182 concert posting, you know, Blink-182's always been there getting me through tough times, so I'm glad I get to go to this concert. And he posts like several times tagging Blink-182 and saying how much they mean to him in this time of tragedy in his family, trying to get clout from him to get, you know, maybe backstage or on stage or whatever, a mention.
That's crazy.
Do you think that he was like trying to dick ride that or like clout fucking?
I think he was using it,
or is it somebody that tags fucking large accounts all the time that clearly will never get any kind of response back?
Yeah, let's try to get clout off of dead people.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, there's people with 2,000 followers that don't even acknowledge people that chat with them on Twitter. So it makes you think somebody with 1 million is going to, you know.
Right.
It's like a needle in a haystack, maybe, but chances are pretty fucking low. Was this one of the James Cameron technology development items? I know that James Cameron has been down there to look at the Titanic with a submersible like that. I don't know if it was that specific one or company or who designed it or anything like that.
Oh, James Cameron was probably down there in a legit like $1 billion sub type of thing, you know.
Who knows?
I don't see him going down in a backyard made submersible.
If you find it, Raul, like pull it up on the stream. If you find anything on that submersible or the James Cameron submersible, I wonder if it was the same one. You know, this company is the one that runs these things, or is there multiple? You know.
Yeah, and usually the submersibles that they do take down there only hold like 2 people. You know, they're not as big.
Some are controlled, like surface controlled too, right?
Yeah, some are just robotic submersibles.
It doesn't look like it.
It's different.
This is Ocean Gate is the company that the submersible was from.
Yeah, it was Ocean Gate. Yeah.
I see here he's like James Cameron accusing Ocean Gate of cutting corners and his thoughts on it. I don't think he was involved in the making of the submarine. I think it's a separate company.
Ocean Gate, I know, right? It's like Watergate, but Ocean Gate.
Yeah, I saw something about that too. It was kind of anything that's controversial or conspiratorial. It has a gate prefix or suffix.
What they use for any scenario that is fishy seems to be.
It says James Cameron's been down to see the Titanic 33 times.
So what craft does he go in?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a picture of what James Cameron's craft looks like?
It's probably that yellow one that you see with like the claws in the front.
The one that's
you see all the time.
Engineered, you know, that wasn't built out of a fucking old washing machine.
Right.
And stuff. And some carbon fiber.
One of those caged water tanks. You know, it's got the metal cage around it. That's what it's built out of.
So I get why someone would want to use carbon fiber, but at the same time, like carbon fiber, I mean, this shit, you put it under pressure, you take it off pressure, different temperature changes, like you fucking that shit up every time you do it. So eventually there's a defect in the plies and then shit, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing had delamination between some of the plies somewhere. You know, that
yeah, for sure.
Caused that. Get some cracking perhaps, and the next thing you know, done.
Right? Any kind of crack would implode that. They wouldn't hold the pressure at all because it would just continue cracking.
I that's my belief on this. This thing is made out of carbon fiber. I believe there were plies that were delaminated, sorry, that were delaminating and then catastrophic failure. That's what they thought happened, Merc.
I also don't think that monitors should be screwed into the sidewalls. I agree.
So one of the submersibles James Cameron went in is like this long, like single person submersible. If you look up James Cameron submersible,
I can't pull up stuff on here. So if you guys want to show it, you have to screen share it. But if I do it, it's gonna screw everything up. If I had a third monitor, I could do it, but I don't on this PC. I just have the two.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Crazy looking.
What did they think happened, Merc? I didn't read everything into it. I just was like, yep, well.
It's called the Deep Sea Challenger.
Are you gonna pull it up or no?
I'm trying to find what he's looking at.
Oh,
I just Google Deep Sea Challenger.
you were hearing
Images.
one of the theories that they were descending too fast, and they could have already had a hole or something in it, which caused it to implode. Maybe if they had a pinhole, that thing wouldn't have made it very far at all. Let me pull this up.
I mean, they wouldn't have even had to been going too fast. The speed,
so that
wouldn't have mattered. It would have imploded anyways, even if it had any type at all.
What is the Challenger Deep? See that one? I mean, what is? I wonder if click on that.
That's
top
him
left.
in it.
Yeah, click on that top left one, man. That 8-foot panel, lights, batteries, stabilizer fin, hard point, weights, pilot chamber. So what is it made out of? I wonder. I bet that one's probably more. There's probably more aluminum.
That one looks like it might be tethered as well. So it might be steel and just pulled back up.
Yeah, so these dudes were partnership with Nat Geo, National Geographic Society, and support from Rolex. And it was headed by an Australian engineer, Ron Allam. That particular one. So, does it say what the...
It's made with...
Well, that's the interior structure. Probably between plies. James Cameron's is steel, Tuna. I feel like between plies, there's probably that foam that they developed.
Yeah,
but I would imagine that it's likely made out of steel. I mean, submarines. You know, regular submarines that don't even go that far down. What are they made out of?
Lithium batteries. Pressure ballast oil filled thrusters.
I'm sorry, but this thing looks far more engineered and advanced than that other thing. Yeah. Looks like somebody built it in their backyard. You know, he's got like a laptop in there, a fucking generic ass controller, that generic ass PS4 controller, and yeah, it looks crazy to me. The difference.
Steel walls.
Steel walls. There were 2.5 inches thick.
Mm-hmm.
Tested down to 16,500 pounds per square inch of pressure in a pressure chamber. Not fucking going down in the water, but in a pressure chamber.
Yeah, they actually tested
That's wild, man. And I wonder what the other one, what kind of testing or engineering or anything that was done with that. I mean, it looked like it was put together with flanges, like
they hit it with a hammer to see if it would dent.
Like a turbofan. Like a turbofan engine sections are put together with flanges and high PSI bolts. Yeah,
this picture right here is a stark comparison to like these pictures.
So what is that?
Like this one looks so much more beat up and possible. Look, the seam here.
Well, I'm curious as to what this thing is made out of. You know what I mean? So they launch it off of a craft. It's got a porthole window on it. I'm sure it went through a couple iterations, designs. They always lost connection. Yeah. Why wouldn't people be talking about that? Like, hey, dude, you need to unfuck yourself and get this thing right.
Though there's one guy who was supposed to go with him. I saw a whole interview he did. Some rich guy, tech guy or something. Was supposed to go with him and told him no and got his deposit bag backed out of it because
the material or structure.
You know, like it didn't seem safe and he just didn't like it. Said they weren't, you know, checking off the safety boxes like they should be.
Bro, you see the first sentence in that would throw me like, nope. It says a combination of groundbreaking engineering and off-the-shelf technology.
What's crazy though is I'm clicking on it and it's just sitting there loading. It's not going.
Yeah, it won't even let you go to Ocean Gate. They closed it down probably.
Because everyone in the world is trying to go look to the website and look
they
at
probably
these people.
Shut it down. Yeah.
That's nuts, man. The fact that they put off-the-shelf technology, like just that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Like if I'm gonna go over 2 miles under the water, that shit better be all like highly engineered, you know, customized for this only. There's no toilet. Steered with a video game controller. It's basically a car that you drunkenly drove into the water, is what someone said. That's crazy, man. Like,
I heard something about there was duct tape on the toilet.
There's no toilet in that. It said there is none. There's no, they probably have piddle packs is what I would imagine. You guys know what a piddle pack is?
Yeah.
It's just a fucking plastic bag with some beads in it that absorb water. So you just piss in it and then it turns into gel.
You were right. It's a long waiver. So you were using the correct terms.
A waiver. It's like a baby diaper.
It's made of carbon fiber and titanium. It weighed about 23,000 pounds.
Okay, so what? I wonder what in it was titanium, which, by the way, titanium, amazingly strong, but brittle.
But breaks, yeah.
It's very brittle. There's a lot of...
Not meant to hold weight for extended periods. By extended periods, I mean years.
Sure.
Well, titanium is hard to cut.
Yeah.
But not hard to break. Like if you take a sheet of titanium and try to cut it,
you can.
It's hard to cut.
Yeah.
But if you take that same piece of titanium, put it under like a hydraulic press and push down on it, it's going to snap.
Yeah, it'll just like basically it's the harder metal becomes. So like aircraft aluminum is hardened to T6 generally. So you have T0, which is very malleable. You could bend it. You could take a piece of T0 aluminum and bend it with your fingers easily.
What's this?
It's almost like clay, right? So T6, on the other hand, you don't bend T6 once it's been, you bend it at T0 and then you bake it to T6. So what happens is it hardens in the shape you put it in. And if you try to bend it back, it just cracks. Same kind of shit with titanium. Nah. It doesn't look like it. It looks like a wire harness.
It looks like it's the metal's bent back right there.
No, that's a wire harness, man. It goes from the top to the bottom. Yeah, see, that's like a wire harness.
You see it. I see it.
Yeah. The crazy thing, like, okay, is the whole thing made, is the exterior all titanium, you know? I don't know. What pieces are carbon fiber, just like
not only that, you have external hoses and cables that have to come in somewhere.
It's like a blown out peepee head. Yeah. Yeah, those things are
So if you got any area where those hoses or something have to enter the capsule, you're done. You're dead already because they won't hold.
Well, there's
that pressure.
Well, there's ways that they can do that, you know.
Unless that might
I wouldn't trust these seams just being riveted like that.
Well, that's just the outer shell.
Those are rivets. Those are definitely a type of screw.
Yeah, a bolt of some sort.
Yeah.
And so that's just the outer.
Aircrafts are done the same way, but they're not under that much pressure, are they?
It looks like the tube itself. So look between the two white pieces, where those may be carbon fiber, but the interior of it, the actual capsule itself, it could be titanium.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. Maybe like titanium ribs. Like this right here is titanium for sure.
Yeah, which basically means it's put together in sections and it's flanged, fitted together with high PSI bolts. It's like an engine, jet engine, basically. They're put together in sections, and there's a flange connecting all the sections together with high pressure bolts, high PSI bolts. They're small, but they're very high PSI. They can withstand a lot of pressure. What might freak you out more is to know that most aircraft engines are held onto the aircraft wing by about 3 bolts.
Yeah, I think that's their propulsion
system. Like 3 to 4 bolts generally.
It's water tubes shooting through the fans.
Yeah.
Up and down, left and right.
That's just amazing to me, man. Like, I wonder what it was. They had blown seal, you know? So it doesn't look like the structure itself was carbon fiber. Just the panels on it.
Yeah, just the skin. Just
never flown, don't want to go. Bro, you got to understand these bolts that hold on to aircraft engines are fucking some of the strongest bolts you'll ever come across, and they're changed out when engines changes happen, and they're not anything really to worry about. It's just funny to me. It's an engineering marvel to me that most engines would call it a cone bolt. It's like a really high density bolt that's torque specific. It goes into a specialized fitting and holds that engine on.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me. It looks like they dug up an old septic tank, slapped a skin on it.
Yeah. So the weird thing to me is that there is not very many flange bolt around that thing. So if you look at an aircraft engine, which isn't sealed, by the way. It's just a gas. It just provides gas path for airflow and holds specific components and pressure and compressor sections and exhaust sections together and turbine sections together. There's a ton of fucking bolts around it, dude. Way more than that. That's for damn sure.
What kind of like pressure is an airplane seeing though? And is it anything compared to
different? You're going up.
Oh, I know, so but you're still with G-forces and stuff. You're still getting pressure pushed against it.
Yeah, against the aircraft because it's flying forward, so there is pressure against the forward part of the aircraft, but it's very aerodynamic, so a lot of that is it's just deflected. The drag is overcome by the engines. So yeah, there is less air pressure, so that's why they pressurize the cabin. So basically, what happens is the aircraft cabin is pressurized, so it mimics closer to what we have at ground level, which is, what is it, around 12 psi normally. That's what we're used to. So it'll put you up around
of what they're doing.
Right, it's pushing air. So the aircraft is pulling air into it. Well, yeah, it's pulling some air into it, but it's using the air to create pressure in the tube of the aircraft. So it's actually outward pressure. Not the opposite of this. This is a dive, so it has pressure from the outside on it. Yeah. So if an airplane
creating more of a vacuum.
Right. An airplane overpressurized, let's say, it blow a window out. It blows out. It doesn't go in.
Yeah, it's a catastrophic explosion on an airplane. It's an implosion on the submarine.
Right. It's kind of weird, man. It's that is like, I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Now, if that was like open topped and it just floated on the top of the water, I'd be fishing on it all day. But as soon as that thing went underwater,
I got a giant eyeball.
No, thank you.
Yeah, just strap those propane tanks back onto the side of it,
Right?
Just float around the river all day.
On the pontoon.
That's an expensive ass pontoon boat.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. Big old pee hole. Yeah, it's a porthole down there, which you could see the porthole has a lot more fasteners around it.
Yeah, then the actual cone itself. That's crazy.
The actual dome there has far less. Look at it.
But this is going to have a lot more pressure on it because it's it's flat and it's right at the tip.
The cone will have the same. It don't matter. The cone will have the same pressure.
It's going to have even pressure forces on it. Just how much it can withstand is different.
Yeah, that's one bolt every 12 inches or so.
Look up turbofan jet engine sections. I want to show you the difference. Turbofan jet engine sections. So find one that's got like an actual image, like an actual fucking. Okay, go back up a little bit. The one on the right, just two more to the right, down. That one's the actual picture.
This one right down one?
No, up one. The one you were just on. Yeah, that one. Make that bigger. Fuck. You could just scroll up, right?
There we go.
So now look at that flange on that. So that's
the one every 3 inches.
That's the compressor section of a turbofan engine, which is what's on all the aircraft you guys fly around on when you go flip places. It's a turbofan, which the actual engine itself is fairly small. It's got a big fan on the front of it that creates a lot of its propulsion too. So
what this is for is
Yeah.
And somebody sucked in here, the mass of their body is not going to blow this out. That's what this. That's why this problem.
No. No. There's a lot of pressure that goes on, compression inside that area there, because you have those the pieces that are turned to the side that you can see. Those are the fan blades, compressor blades. The ones in between that are straight, those are called stator vanes. And some of them are maneuverable, some of them are not. But the difference in the speed of those crossing each other, like this, it creates pressure, compression in there. And then that.
So these move as well.
No,
as the fan blades.
No. Those don't move.
Direct. Okay.
Yeah, the fan blades, they stay in that angle, and then because of the speed of the fan, it creates pressure in there. So that pressure is sent back into the combustion chambers.
Because
where fuel and air mixture happens. Yeah. Fuel, air, and compression happen in there. So it's basically, it sucks in, it squeezes the air really tight, creates an explosion, and then blows it out the back of the engine. So it's suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's what happens.
Suck.
Squeeze, bang,
squeeze.
But the point is,
further
they
back.
put so much compression that they have a bolt like every 3 inches.
It's a lot. They're held together, and these things have been designed for fucking such a long time now. We're come up 100 years close to. When was the first jet engine made? It was probably somewhere in the 40s, I would imagine.
A circle is stronger with pressure being pushed down on it, not pushed up on it.
Yeah,
so
of course.
What kind of pressure are we looking at pushing up on this from a jet engine? Yeah.
Not really. I mean, outwards, you mean, or?
Yeah. From the combustion and stuff.
Yeah, there's some pressure on those. But the bolts,
is it comparable to?
So look down a little bit. The bottom half of the picture, that's the back side of the bolts there. So it's a bolt with a nut on the back, generally. And they're
it looks like a nylon.
No. It's I think those are steel bolts. Yeah, they're steel bolts.
They don't have that nylon ring on it to lock them in?
No, they
look rounded like they would be, but they're more like a lug nut.
They're through a bolt. So basically when you look at it, when it hasn't been installed, it kind of has an oval shape to it. So when you install it, it doesn't back off. You can torque it. That's how those stay on there. There's different types of fasteners, but that is the one. But what you'll have is you'll have 2 flanges that meet like that, right? You can see the cutout, but you'll have 2 flanges that meet and a ton of fucking bolts, and they're all torque specific. So, and that thing is put together with many sections, many sections, each engine. So each module is a section you can take off and replace. So when an engine reaches a certain life, certain sections get replaced. So. Yeah, pretty crazy. But then I look at that. Now compare the picture you guys just saw, that flange, to the flange on that fucking thing, where the damn bolts are a foot apart. Yeah, and those are about 4 inches apart. Probably not. Those are probably about 6 inches apart, because those engines are fucking massive.
That's about 18 inches.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably about the size of that.
You could mathematically figure it out, and depending on what the diameter is of that submersible, to figure out about how far apart those bolts are. But they're pretty fucking far apart.
They're at least
I would say about. I would say about 18 inches.
Look at the guy standing next to it, right? Let's say he's 6 foot tall, right? That's at least a foot.
At least
apart.
That's crazy.
And everybody knows the further apart you put bolts, right?
Less strength you got.
Well, yeah, you got less connecting strength there. So there's a weak area in between.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the same goes the other way. If they're too close together, it also weakens the metal. So they have to be designed a specific.
100% that nose cone blew out.
But also, this pressure is pushing this cone into the frame. So it's not like that combustion engine that's pushing the frame away from itself.
So
the pressure's pushing it into it.
Well, no, it's not. It is yes and it isn't. Like it's all an external force.
Yeah, it's
from all directions.
Every square inch of that,
but it's still pushing everything in. So it's still
and down,
it's still going to be
up and left and right.
Yeah.
What's up?
So I mean, we may not need the same, because this is everything's pushing everything away. It's one to separate everything.
There's a ton of vibration on a jet engine. I mean, there's a sine wave signal for jet engines for vibration. They have to be within too, so otherwise they'll just rattle themselves apart. But yeah, there's tons of force on that thing from all directions.
Yeah.
So even from the opposite,
I understand that, but it's still kind of.
So there's force on that on both sides of the flange. So on both sides of my hands here, pushing the flange together as well.
It's like grabbing onto this. Like my hand is putting pressure on everything, but it's also pushing that plastic closer to the frame.
Yeah, it's squeeze your finger, and that's the pressure you get all around your finger.
Yeah, but you're still pushing all that skin and everything closer to your bone all the way around. So it's still pushing everything towards the frame of it. So it doesn't need as much support as, let's say, the aircraft engine that all the forces are trying to push everything away.
Yeah,
from the frame.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, so you get any kind of defect on that material, and even a scratch can turn into a crack with that amount of pressure. Even a tiny scratch. Like, okay, for example, like inside of a jet engine, there are scratch limitations on some of the components, even where the fan blades fit into, and those scratch limitations are damn near microscopic. Like you can't even have. You can have marring on the surface, which is basically like a smudge on the surface. You can have some of that. But even the smallest, slightest scratch, like if you can see with your eye, then like it's fucking no good. So, and the reason why is because that scratch can turn into a crack very fast. So in that titanium, right, internally engined titanium, right? You can repair that. So what we do when we have a scratch is we have to send pictures of it, measurements of it to the engineer, and the engineer can make the determination whether it's repairable or whether it has to be replaced. Sometimes it can be repaired, but it has to have what's called a non-destructive inspection done on it, which most of the time they'll do like an X-ray or a dye penetrant, which basically they dye it and then they look at it with a machine and it will show if there's a crack in it. And if there's a crack in it, obviously it's bad. So if it's just a surface scratch, sometimes they can be blended out, but a lot of times you can't. You have to replace it. So, and engineering will tell you, like, and the depth on what I'm talking about is like 0.001. That's like the limit. You know what I mean? In some cases, 0.001 inches. So 1/1000th of an inch, which is nuts. That is like very small. So there's so many conspiracies going on with what happened. Oh yeah. We're just talking technical shit right now.
Yeah. I don't believe in a conspiracy on it. I think you went down in a...
It failed.
Obviously. Like you said, a jalopy in a... It just couldn't handle the pressure.
I feel like there may have been some unseen damage on it somewhere. Or
I feel like I could have built that in my backyard with a few jet skis and
a washing machine tub.
Yeah.
Take it out in the pool. Check it out.
I mean, I could take this controller right here, which is medium of the road, just like their Logitech.
Yeah.
Control it. Actually, this is probably better than their Logitech because it's got 4 buttons on the back.
You know what is crazy too is all the fucking memes while that shit was going on, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Like
crazy.
Like it's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to like make fun of people that are dying or have died already right then and there, you know?
That was like this century's version of Schrodinger's cat, though. Like they were alive until we knew that they were dead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Schrodinger's cat. Until you observed it, it's in a state of in between.
Isn't there a thing called a Schrodinger's douche too?
No, but I'm gonna Google that.
There's a thing that's it's a joke until people fucking respond to it in a negative manner, and then it's not a joke anymore. Or then it was just a joke. First you were serious, and then you turn it into a joke because people got pissed. It's like that moron on the video I posted today on Twitter that talking about fucking credit card fraud and a number of other fucking frauds. He's a Schrodinger's douche. He's the guy that says, "I was just joking, guys," after all the negative feedback. Moron.
A person who says
it was just for fun.
Yeah, see,
a person who says stupid stuff without thinking and backtracks, delete their tweets or comments, and that's me.
When they get backlash.
That's me. I would say something stupid,
but you just
without thinking about it.
Yeah, Schrodinger's douchebag. That's what the guy is. And you said, what is it? Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. What a fool.
It's a Schrodinger's imaginary experiment. You place a cat in a box with a tiny bit of radioactive substance. When the radioactive substance decays, it triggers a Geiger counter, which causes a poison or explosion to be released that kills the cat.
It's an imaginary
theory. Yeah, his theory is that cat is in a state of both alive and dead until you observe it to confirm the facts.
Oh, so if you never open the box, you can just say it's
still in a
box.
Weird spectrum, not spectrum, but yeah, it's both alive and dead.
A paradox of quantum what?
Superposition.
Superposition. Okay. Why the fuck did he call it that?
I don't, because that's
a cat experiment.
What he thought about, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thought experiment from him.
Interesting.
But what it's saying is basically like everything is anything until it's observed.
True. Anything is anything, exactly. You took apart a watch, every little piece, and you put it in a box, and you shook it up for infinity years, forever. When you open the box, will it become a watch? No. It would never. Unless you open, if you opened the box, maybe. What did I do?
So what else happened this week?
Aside from the submarine this week, man, that's like the biggest news I've seen besides the that laptop fucking shindig going down with the homie Hunter taking a plea deal.
We didn't see any of that.
During the time between the supposedly they heard the sound of this submersible imploding under the water, And then the 5 or however many days it was until they announced that, or whatever time they had while they potentially were alive. While all that was going on, Mr. The hunter fella with the laptop,
and then this is where Ocean Gate comes into play.
The hunter fella with the laptop took a plea deal for the bullshit that he was doing. What's AB 665 in California? Amendment 665, AB 665. What is that?
Let me get some copy and
I don't know.
Paste here.
Mermaid. I don't know why they used a controller. That controller.
Mm.
The initial piece for the vaccine at 12. What? Well, like saying it was abstract. Existing law for some purposes authorizes a minor who is 12 years of age or older consent to mental health treatment or counseling on a vaccine without parents' permission. A vaccine without parents' permission. Oh. So they're saying they're giving a minor the authority to receive a vaccine or mental health treatment without notifying parents. Is that?
I can understand mental health treatment possibly, but vaccine's a little weird. That's like going to the doctor and be like, hey, I need, a medication without telling your parents that.
Yeah. I think that opens up the door for a lot of things. It allows the schools there to give vaccines without parents' permission.
Yeah, which is horseshit. It would not be a good day.
Dude, that is
if
like
I found out
some fucking communism, bro.
Yeah. It would not be a good day.
I would allow them to whoop my kids like they used to before I would allow them to stick them with a needle.
That is the sole reason you will not adopt in California. Because of them doing that, because of them trying to push an amendment through that allows children to do that, or
the fact that the state thinks that they can parent your kids better than you can parent your kid.
Sadly, sometimes that's the truth.
Yes, but you got to give. I mean, it's America. You got to give them the benefit of doubt before you just take it into your own hands.
The state and the government had no business in that kind of shit. Unless a parent is like mistreating, endangering children, then the state and the government shouldn't be involved in that. You know what I mean? If their safety is in jeopardy, then okay. Somebody could step in. We got CPS for a reason, to protect kids from fucking bad parents. And no, it doesn't work all the time, and I get that.
Well, they can throw in, I would say, short-term endangering anything that can cause them bodily harm in a short amount of time. Long-term, I mean, the air we breathe long-term is endangering children,
Yeah.
So, So, and they can also say, hey, they're not vaccinated. You are endangering them from chances of getting this or whatever. But that would be a long-term endangerment. That shouldn't apply either.
There's a lot of people that live out there that don't get vaccines, but they also don't live around a lot of people either.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they live to themselves somewhere and they don't go see a doctor. They don't do any of that shit. They don't catch all that crap because no one ever comes around who has it. So Therefore, why do they need a vaccine? That makes sense to me,
I said it, I think it was last, I said it in the chat. I just recently got a tetanus shot because I was working barefoot around open rusty screws on the floor, tearing down a shed, and I was scared I was going to step on one.
Dude, I got a fucking tetanus story for you.
But that was like 10, 15 years prior to my last one.
Yeah. So they say they're good for like 9 years or 10 years, tetanus.
I think it's 7 years, and I was way out of date.
Yeah, I had a tetanus shot when I went to Thailand, and I had gotten a tetanus shot probably within 7 years of that, I think. A multitude of other shots you have to get in order to go to different countries. You got to get specific kinds of shots that prevent things like dengue fever, and you got to take fucking malaria pills and all that bullshit. But it was after work. I was at the Tesco, which is a grocery store chain in Thailand. I was buying some groceries, and I had flip-flops on. Obviously, it's fucking hot and humid there. I'm shorts, flip-flops. And I walked to the back of our van because we had a little we had drivers there that had these like 10, 12 passenger vans with like fucking banging stereos in them and shit. And little TVs and headrests and all that kind of thing. They're kind of like little boom boom vans, you know, they're pretty cool. The drivers are always fun. They'll do whatever you tell them. But anyway, so I'm putting my groceries in the back, and I go to step over a grate that's in the ground. It's like a drain gate, right? It's supposed to be flush with the road. Well, this one had been flipped over apparently. So I went to step over it, and it caught the bottom of my flip-flop between the toes and the flip-flop. So it caught the flip-flop, pulled it down, and because my foot is slid into the flip-flop, it pulled my foot down as I was pushing my foot out, like kicking my foot out to walk. And the edge of this thing was so corroded and rusted out that it had become razor sharp, and it slashed my foot. So if you look at your foot, you have like the ball of your foot here. It cut right here, like from the ball of my foot close to the middle. You know, it was about 1.5 to 2 inch gouge. Deep as fuck, man. I didn't realize how deep it was until we went to the pharmacy, and my buddy, he was an aircrew guy, so he's got you know, I'll treat it and shit. So we go in there, he buys a bunch of shit and pours fucking damn like pure alcohol in that motherfucker, and oh my god, dude, it was so fucking painful. So I'm sitting in the van, like my foot's out, and he's fucking pouring shit on it, and I'm like, you know, puts a bandage on it, and then I call my doc. I'm like, hey doc, I cut my foot on a rusty grate. She's like, she looks up my stuff. She's like, you need to go get a tetanus shot. I'm like, thought it was still good. I got it like 7 years ago or some shit. She's like, technically yes, but you should go to the hospital and get another one. I was like, nah, I think I'm good. So, but here's what I'll tell you that I dealt with. And I think that potentially I had gotten maybe even a small amount of tetanus because I was dealing with, for 2 months, I dealt with massive calf muscle cramps and just cramping in that leg, like mostly in the calf and in the front of my leg, where it was so painful that it would happen in the night, right? And my muscle would just lock up so tight, I would wake up just wincing in pain, and I would get up and just punch the fuck out of my calf muscle to get to loosen up. I literally like beating the shit out of it to try to get it to loosen up because it was just so tightened up. And you know, I'm keeping the thing clean, and you know, I'm changing the bandage out all the time, so eventually it was healing up. And but I'm pretty sure that muscle cramping and stuff is like a reaction, bodily reaction to having some tetanus in it.
Yeah.
Which can cause that. Like it can cause like lockjaw and other shit. Like I didn't experience that, but I definitely experienced some massive leg cramping on that leg. Am I going to show us these massive calves maybe one day?
So I said on a stream earlier this week that this week I was going to tell the story about how I burnt my face off.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So right out of high school, I moved. I wasn't getting in trouble, but I was being bad. I got into drugs and stuff right out of high school. So I moved out to the country with my dad to get away from all that. And it's a town that has a local Renaissance festival right down the road. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn fire breathing and poi spinning and fire staff and all this fire tricks to get a job there, or possibly, just stand out in the parking lot and do it or whatever and make money. And I was fire breathing. Well, somebody brought some lamp oil to a party we were at. I was drinking underage, and I was being careless. I didn't take the precautions. You're supposed to dampen yourself so fire can't catch light on you, your hair and stuff. Supposed to keep a rag to wipe the fluid off your mouth when you take a sip. Yeah. I didn't do any of that. So I took a big swig of the fire and I blew it out, and it was the longest flame duration and lengthwise I've ever spit. I even had time to put my hands behind my back and bring it back and forth. And it was up on a hill, and the wind on that hill would whip around and do circles around the hill. And all of a sudden the wind picked up and circled around and blew it right back into my face. And there was 2-foot flames off my head. And I still had sense enough to be like, okay, I smacked my face and realized I'm on fire.
Holy fuck.
And I stopped, dropped, and rolled. When I stopped, dropped, and rolled, I was 2 feet away from a horseshoe stake that I could have fallen on and impaled myself on.
Dude.
And I get it out. I stand up and I instantly go into the shower. I take a shower, and my roommate, she came in, she saw me, and she said the skin, I guess the blisters had popped when I was wiping my face. And she said it looked like the skin was just melting off my face.
Like Freddy Krueger and shit.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to the hospital. I'll be all right. I went back and tried to sit around the fire with everybody and continue drinking, and the pain was just too much. So I went to bed. I ended up getting some that night too. The next morning,
I like how you threw that in there.
Well, I mean,
I got weed.
I was that tough that I was still able to get. The next morning, I woke up and my eyes were swollen shut, and I just looked like. Remember a Martin? He had a bad dream and his head swelled up real big. I looked like that. And they were like, no, you're going to the hospital. There's no doubt about it. You're going to the hospital. All they did was give me some lidocaine cream to put on my face to keep it clean. But they said it was 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 98% of my face. God. And I still had my nose hairs. My nose hairs were not singed at all. So they're like, that was really good that you didn't inhale. With you having nose hairs means that you were continuously exhaled the entire time. If you would have inhaled, you would have burned your lungs, and it would have been a lot of different, bigger situation than you were in.
So basically, she had sex with a burn victim.
Yeah.
That's what I took away. No.
From behind, though.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. 2nd and 3rd degree burns. How much of your hair was burnt off?
None. It was just my face. I didn't have any facial hair. It was just my face.
How old were you?
My eyebrows were singed. I was 18, 19, almost 19.
Nice.
Only thing I have scar-wise is a little bit of lump underneath my skin right here. You can't see it, but there's a knot right there, and that's the only scar that I ended up getting from it.
Damn.
And then the next year I was shot.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, I had a 5-year run of just horrible luck.
Wow. Sounds
2 years later, the rod in my leg broke. So they had to go and replace the rod in my leg.
Titanium, right?
surgical steel.
Oh, surgical steel. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I knew it wasn't. They never told me it was titanium or not, but I didn't set off metal detectors. I still don't.
Even with
So
that.
I don't.
Even with that.
So I think it's surgical steel and not titanium, because titanium would set it off, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I think both of them.
Whatever it is magnetic.
Because like
it's anything magnetic will set it off.
Ferrous materials is anything like iron based, which stainless steel or surgical steel is ferrous material.
I have my femur from hip to knee is all a rod, and then I have 3 screws and a pin.
So if you put
pin in the hip and 3 screws at the knee.
If you held up like a really strong magnet, it wouldn't stick to your.
No.
Huh.
So I'm thinking like surgical steel, stainless steel.
Yeah, non-ferrous material.
Like 301 stainless or something.
Well, stainless steel is still.
I've been through many a metal detector until, okay, if I set it off, I have a rod in my leg, and I never set it off.
Maybe. It depends on the sensitivity level.
Yeah, I'm seeing different answers for it.
Even with the wands that they do after the checkpoint, the little cage you walk through, they don't set them off. So
really,
it could be because it's so deep in my body as well. It's insulated from their
I don't know.
weight machines.
I mean, a lot of people who have to carry like a little medical card with them or something, that they set it off, they give it to them, say, hey, yep, I got this plate or I got this rod or whatever.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
They didn't give you one of those?
Mm-mm. They didn't give me a brace for my floppy fish foot. They didn't even give me a freaking handicap placard for when I was in a wheelchair.
Maybe they have them set to where they don't really pick up like orthopedic implants like that.
Yeah, probably. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe my body is insulating it enough to not pick up their settings.
They use stainless steel, cobalt, chrome, and titanium. But the software is much more sophisticated and can discriminate between different metal alloys. So maybe that's
I also still have lead and copper in my body as well.
It says if you have a hip replacement, knee replacement, metal plate and screws, metal rod, or one of many other types of orthopedic implants, you may set off the airport metal detector.
Yeah, I've ridden on the airport system and didn't.
What if they put a cadaver bone in you and they just didn't tell you?
They did do a bone graft, so it was a cadaver bone graft.
So maybe
they didn't take the bone from me.
So maybe you just have a bone graft with a cadaver bone, and you just have a regular old femur.
No, I have a metal rod in it.
Oh,
I have the X-rays for it. Metal rod and screws and a pin.
That's nuts, man.
Oh, and I saw video of a motocross rider that had a broken femur, and they were doing the same surgery as they did to me, and they just take the metal rod and they shove it into the bone and they sledgehammer it in.
Oh, it's a pin basically is what you're saying. It's like a pin.
Yeah, but it's a rod from my hip to my knee inside the bone.
Yeah. So maybe that's why, because it's in the bone, it's probably small. It's probably very narrow diameter, you know. It's not like a whole ass, like your femur has been replaced by a fucking rod.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. He's got a bionic leg.
Yeah.
Like I said a few episodes ago, the bone had grown back so much around the rod that it looks like a medieval mace. It's just bone spurs just sprouting around that area.
So that's fucking nuts.
Weird.
And my X-ray looks like the 4th of July with all the bone and bullet fragments that they left in my leg. That's still in there. And this is almost 20 years ago now. Well, 26 would be 20 years.
Do they just float around? Like the bone it doesn't grow anymore. If it's like little fragments, it's just a little piece that's just there now. It's kind of like when you get a, like tuna's vasectomy, right? The just ball just kind of sits there.
It just floats, just sits there. No, I actually got in trouble that I was keeping my wound too clean because the bullet fragment, there was no infection around the bullet and bone fragments. So it ended up growing within my muscles.
Oh shit!
So it's not coming out anymore. They have to go in there and like actually like cut it out. Usually they'll work their way out eventually. Your body rejects it, but there was no infection to keep that thing floating through my body.
Hold on, what is
so
this?
It just grown in.
What is this Alex Smith leg? What happened with his leg? I don't know anything about that shit.
He snapped it. It's the quarterback he was playing for Kansas City Chiefs at that time.
Yeah.
When he snapped his leg.
He snapped
the story of the
tibia.
Bad.
Was it like an Anderson Silva situation?
He snapped the tibia and fibia, lower part of the leg.
Oh, see, I did the same thing, but it was the femur.
The femur's
and I was hopping around a vehicle to get cover, and my leg was bending at my hip and kicking me in the leg. It was like flopping up with me hopping.
Jesus.
At the femur.
So the femur is the biggest bone in your body, right? Yeah.
That's the hardest bone in your body to break.
Management is watching. Listen, we talked about your ball for just a brief minute and only one. Yeah, lower leg. He broke his tibia and fibia. So I'm guessing it was a compound fracture, like broke the skin and everything.
Spiral. It was a compound and spiral.
Holy shit.
My mom, when she was a kid, she was playing tackle football with her cousins and spiral fractured her femur. She was laying on her back and her leg was underneath her, straight up behind her.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, dude.
She was in a body cast from her chest down for a couple years.
The office is tuning in. Oh, the officer. Oh, Ash. Okay, we're good. We're not getting in trouble.
I have not made one dick joke, I promise.
Are you guys driving yet or what? Driving back?
The story of my rod breaking is kind of interesting as well.
I'm curious about that one too.
My doctor told me, you're healed, go back to normal activities. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to use jiu-jitsu and MMA training as kind of like a form of rehab. They didn't prescribe me any rehab or anything. So I'm going to use it as a form of rehab and start training mixed martial arts. And I was training with a guy, he's now in the UFC. He's been on and off in the UFC for a while. It's Daniel Pineda. I was training with him and I guess he thought I kind of called him out because I was like, who wants to roll? And he looked at me and goes, who wants to wrestle? I was like, I just want to roll. So he thinks that he thought I was kind of calling out his wrestling, I guess. I don't know. And he's a smaller than me. At the time, I was like 185. He fights at 145. I went to pull guard on him, jump guard on him, and he just followed me down and slammed me. And I could feel my leg kind of go outward. And I'm like, oh man, that hurt really bad. I just figured, it's because I have a rod in my leg. It's not broken or anything. So I get up, walk it off, and about a month later, I'm walking and I just feel like there's something wrong with my leg. I could feel like the unsteadiness and it wanting to kick out on me. And I went to the emergency room and they were like, you said you fell? I was like, I fell because I was hopping on one leg because it was already hurt. And they're like, well, it's broken and we haven't seen anything like this. You didn't get in a car accident or anything? And no, I fell, but that's about it. I didn't put two and two together that's when it happened. until way later.
So you were
Go ahead.
walking around for a month on a broken ass fucking leg?
Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
And
That's crazy.
well, I mean, I was using a cane. I was using a cane.
Yeah,
I
but
used the
still.
cane for like years after I was shot.
Yeah. But still, like a whole month just to be like, because you're still like kind of walking on it. You're not putting like a ton of pressure, but you're still.
I was still going to the gym. I was still training.
Nuts. That's nuts, man.
I took like a couple of weeks off, but then I still was, was still going 2 days a week. But at that point I was like, you know what? I can't do stand up anymore. I might come in for a boxing class, but I want to just do jiu-jitsu because it's me laying on my back and, I'm not standing on legs.
You're a puppy.
But, I went into the hospital, got the x-ray, and they're like, okay, we're going to admit you. There was like 50 people in the emergency room. They're like, okay, all y'all can go home. You come with us. You're getting admitted. I was the only one out in the whole emergency room that they were admitting that day. And I was in there for a week before I went into surgery.
The fuck were you doing?
Just so they can research how to fix it because they'd never seen it before. And this is like the #1 trauma hospital in Houston, Ben Taub Hospital. I was in there for a week for them just to find out how to fix it before they put me into surgery. And then I was out after surgery and for another week. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks for just a broken rod.
God dang.
Eating nothing but McDonald's because Ben Taub has a McDonald's in the basement. And it's way better than hospital food. So that's one reason I got so fat.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nuts,
because I was in shape, training mixed martial arts. I was, getting in good shape, muscle and everything. And then all of a sudden I was still metabolizing creatine as well. So my body and I didn't work out or eat enough protein so I just gained a lot of water and just never been able to lose it.
Damn. The rod breaking isn't a dick joke. No,
it isn't.
I heard dudes can actually break their dick like that.
Yes, they can.
Heard about that.
So women, when you ride, be careful. Because it can happen. Did you hear the rumors like, not Mick Jagger, but there's another legendary rock star had so much sex that his shit split in half long ways.
How is that even possible, dude?
That's just, I mean,
That's
it could be one of those rumors like
the
Rod Stewart having a stomach pumped and let Marilyn Manson getting 2 ribs removed so he can blow himself. Like, it could be one of those rumors.
Mythical
creature. Yeah, that just doesn't seem possible.
I mean, if you have something that's rotten, that shit. Yeah, I mean, I could see it plausible, but not very possible.
I feel like if you had something rotten, it would just all fall off. It'd all have to be removed.
I don't know. I mean, you getting pressure like this, I could see it going.
I mean, hey,
like this before it falls off.
I don't see that happening. I just don't. Yeah, unless you ran into a table saw or something and fucking cut it down the middle. That's weird.
Man, I have circular saw nightmares. My dad was a carpenter, framer most of my life, and I would go to work with him and he would tell me, I learned when I was learning to saw, that he's seen people that saw kick back up and run all the way up their body, back up, cut them from dick to tits.
Jesus, I haven't seen that. I've seen a kickback on a table saw before. When I was in woodshop in high school, I took 2 periods of woodshop because it was fucking awesome, and I didn't need to take important classes anymore. But one of those classes, I was building a gun cabinet for somebody, so they paid all the materials and shit. and I'm waiting on the table saw to cut some plywood, I think for one of the sides or something in this gun cabinet I was building. Anyway, another guy in the class was pushing a piece of plywood through the table saw and didn't have enough downward pressure on it. He's standing behind it, pushing it through, and it jumped up. The plywood jumped up on top of the blade, and the blade fucking shot it back, and it hit him right in the gut. And he had a bruise the next day, all the way across his stomach, like all the way across, and it was black and fucking blue. I mean, it was the nastiest looking fucking bruise I've ever seen. But that was the one time I've ever seen a table saw kickback. It was in high school.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
I've never had anything kick back on me on a table saw. I've had a skill saw, like actually using a skill.
Yeah.
Hit and kick, you know.
Yeah.
But
the good thing about those is, like, if you let off of it,
just let go.
The blade's gonna like, if you let off the trigger, you can still hold it. You let off the trigger, that blade's gonna stop. You know, eventually.
Yeah, this is back in the 80s, and yeah, they kept going for a while.
That's nuts.
I mean, it wasn't like powered, but it didn't have like that brake that they do now.
I couldn't imagine like cutting and then just like climb up your body, just cut your nipple off and stuff.
My dad was also a welder, and I went to work with him right out of high school, and he had a buddy that was working with us at working the a metal punch. Mm-hmm. It's where you put like tabs in and punch holes in it instead of drilling holes. He thought he would be smart and stack up 4 or 5 of them and punch them all at once. Well, the ones in the middle shot out, and he was wearing a baggy shirt. It went right through his shirt and into the wall behind him.
Dude, that's scary. No way. We didn't ever do anything like that in welding. We did like if we were doing oxyacetylene welding, we would fill up a balloon with some oxygen and fucking light it and boom,
light it.
Yeah. It's just
I've done things like welding people's steel toes to their table and shit.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
we used to weld people's shit to the table all the time.
Yeah.
Oh no! While they're standing there welding, you take a bar, and if they have their steel toes, sometimes the leather is exposed. You tack a bar to it, and then you tack it to the table. So their leg is sitting there stuck to the table.
I feel like
while they're wearing their boot.
That's pretty conspicuous to be able to do that kind of thing. Like that's pretty crazy. We did this thing where we'd weld 2 pieces of steel together. They were probably, I don't know, 1 inch wide or something, maybe 2 inches wide, and then we'd put them in this machine with 2 claws on it, and it would pull them apart to test your weld strength.
Mm-hmm.
So it just show up on this little gauge to tell like what your weld strength was, and generally rule of thumb is you'd want the metal to break before you weld.
My thing is I have light colored eyes, so I'm very apt to burning my eyes. Lighter your eyes are, the more apt you are to burn them to welding. And I'm so blind that I can't see with a welding hood on. So I have to have like a very expensive flash hood, which will be green until the light hits, and then it turns to a regular light, regular welding lens.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'd be able to see what I'm welding. Because I got this right here, I can't hold my hands. When I flip my hood back down, my hands always move.
Oh. Your head's attached to your hands then.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
always
the neck bone's connected to the arm bones.
Yeah.
In school, they always bought like the darkest lenses.
Yeah.
For those damn helmets, you couldn't see shit.
Oh yeah, until you actually started an arc.
Oh, but when I found flash hoods, man, I was getting it.
Yeah.
I learned all kinds of Healy arc. My dad did dairy tubing and not breweries. He did brewery tubing as well, but he did Borden's and Oak Farms and different like milk companies. He would put the piping in those, and you had to be on your shit.
I'm not gonna lie. Tuna's message. All I got out of that, he went to school with very successful.
He went to school with a very successful Major League Baseball player. Oh, okay. Hey, let's take like a few minutes, man.
But yeah,
we're at our halfway point. Let's take a few minutes. Make sure you guys stick around for part 2. Okay, we'll be back shortly.